welcome to AMPAC Radio, the radio show of the American Muslim Political Action Committee. I'm your host, Kevin Barrett from Wisconsin, and today we have a really interesting topic coming up. We're going to be talking with Shahid Abdullah, a.k.a. Derron Black, who is running for mayor in Kansas City, and he came up with a pretty gripping, exciting, unusual, and, well, let's just say ballsy way to launch his campaign last week. He interrupted the current mayor with some pretty sharp criticism and garnered a whole bunch of news coverage. It's a pretty strong statement that he's unhappy with the way things are going, as most of us are here at AMPAC. I'm a fan of people who tell the truth and call it the way they see it, and my guest, Shahid Abdullah, a.k.a. Derron Black, certainly qualifies. So let's welcome him. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm doing good, Dr. Barrett. How are you?
I'm doing well, alhamdulillah. It's, I thought your your video performance when you interrupted the mayor of Kansas City is one of the most exciting interventions I've ever seen in terms of this new form of media of interrupting famous people and calling them out on their drawbacks and in some cases their crimes. People have been doing this a lot since 9/11 to call out the 9/11 criminals, and boy, this was kind of electrifying, and also, of course, it really puts your name out there in Kansas City. So what led you to launch a campaign for mayor by stepping up on the stage and interrupting the current mayor?
Well, Dr. Barrett, I really didn't put too much thought into it. I guess really it was at that moment it was a lot of emotion mixed with knowledge and mixed with frustration. I mean, at that moment, well, what actually had taken place shortly before I had even decided to even go up on the stage, I had just came from the gym, and a friend of mine, who's now my campaign manager, he had informed me that the Lincoln Building, which sits right next door to the gym theater, was about to be shut down due to the Section 3 office being moved out of that building. The Section 3 office is a office that the city funds that allows for low income and minorities to get first dibs on different job opportunities. And so, once I heard about that resource is being closed down, it was just like my insult level had just peaked. And then not only what was I frustrated behind the knowledge of it being closed down, but I walked into the gym theater and it just seemed like a big celebration. I mean, they had the jazz playing, and I'm quoting the city councilman Jermaine Reed when he says that I messed up their celebrity mood. So that right there lets me know the type of awareness or concern that they have for their community, when they just basically consider themselves to be celebrities, and they held this particular state of the city as like a big a pat on the back for all the things that they have been doing, in which I was just like the city really needs to know what you haven't been doing as opposed to what you have done.
Well, that's right. I'm not really up on Kansas City local politics too much, but I do know that the overall situation for ordinary working people, and especially minority people in the big cities in the last 15, 20 years has been getting worse and worse, thanks to the financiers and the bankers shipping all the jobs overseas, shutting down all the American factories, getting rid of all the working jobs. And, it's gotten worse and worse and worse, and nobody seems to really want to address this. They open up the borders for so-called free trade with these NAFTA countries, move all the factories over there, let millions and millions of immigrants that come in and compete for non-existent jobs. Obviously, the country isn't being run for its ordinary working people. What are some of the symptoms of the situation in Kansas City that made you feel like you needed to step in and do something?
Well, Dr. Barrett, that's pretty much exactly if you're looking at a macro level. Here on the micro level, when you say that that jobs are being moved out of our community, well, that's exactly what's taking place. I mean, at one point we had manufacturing jobs right here in our community. GM was located here in our community. Clay Como is not that far from our community, which is a Ford plant. They used to have more union jobs down here as well, and and when you look at those type of things, taking place inside your community, and then you see the property values start to decline, and then that feeds into the school systems starting to decline, and then the solution, or when you see those things starting to deteriorate, of course you're going to start to see a higher crime rate, and the only thing that our city has looked to rectify this problem with the high crime rate is just to police up. Friends of mine, we've termed it a police city instead of killer city. They wanted to term our city of one state to be killer city. Well, their solution to that is killer city. Not investments in education, not investments in the housing situation, not investments in local business economics, but to just fund the police with more and more equipment, more facilities and whatnot. So it's definitely sad, and so that's really what moved me to just basically call them out, and just let people know the truth about what's really going on.
That sounds a lot like what's happening in the whole country. We're moving into a police state situation, and I think the biggest reason that they've destroyed the Constitution, they've revoked most of the Bill of Rights now. The executive branch says it has the right to have a secret anonymous death committee single anybody out they want for assassination, including American citizens, with no due process, no trial, no charges, and certainly nobody being found guilty of anything. They can still just go out and kill you for no reason because they want to. This is such a grotesque violation of not just the American Constitution, but, all the way back to habeas corpus and the Magna Carta of almost 1,000 years ago. We're rolling back the clock to the darkest of the dark ages here, and they're building Halliburton internment camps all over the country. They've got all kinds of preparations for martial law, and all of this, I think, is because they're hollowing out the economy. As I said, they sent all those jobs overseas. As you said, in Kansas City, they shut down the factories. Here in Wisconsin, the big factory towns in Racine, Kenosha, and Beloit, Kenosha, what's the one by Beloit? Anyway, that's all the whole industrial side of Wisconsin has largely been shut down, and there are these ghost towns where you can get pretty decent houses real cheap because there's nobody who can live there anymore because there's no more industry. So they're killing off the economy, and I think they're getting ready for it to get even much worse, which is why they're turning the U.S. into a police state, a dictatorship with internment camps everywhere. And this is just so unacceptable. It's our identity here in the U.S. is about supposedly freedom and transparency and justice for all, right? That's what they say in the slogan, but it doesn't always work out that way. Now, do you think these are problems that can be addressed at the local level? Because, I wonder if a city like Kansas City really can attract industry back there when the country as a whole has allowed all of the manufacturing to go overseas to places where they can pay people $1 a day to work in the factory. What can people do at the local level to try and turn this around?
Well, and Dr. Barrett, I think that's exactly where you have to approach this problem is at a local level. I mean, one of the things that we notice or that some of us are consciously aware of is that when you look at the amount of the distance that your food has to travel, just for you to put it on your table, that right there, plays a lot into this global system that's really been established. If we can localize our own food production, localize our own economics, I really think that is really the beachhead, that you can establish, to counteract this whole global paradigm in dictatorship. If you really start to empower, the local communities, we have some. One of the things that is really overlooked in our community is the knowledge that a lot of the citizens have within this community that they have gained from all different types of walks of life. Kansas City is right here in the middle, so it really at moments seems like a melting pot, because people bring so many ideas from different areas. And at moments, there are instances where it really seems like the city is wide open, because these ideas are not being implemented. Well, one of the things that you see when you do start to see people, of consciousness and awareness, start to implement these different ideas, is that you see a counterattack, from the establishment and the already the agenda that's really being perpetuated by the 1%. You see a counteract against those people who are trying to progress into these different new innovative areas. And so one of the things that I think if we really start to focus on our local economies as far as our food production, I think that can be a huge leeway in trying to repower or empower the people in your local economies.
Well, that sounds like a great idea. It sounds a little bit like what I heard from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at Savior's Day. I was down there. I was very lucky. A friend of mine, Joe D'Angelo, is with Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. And Minister Farrakhan has been one of the most eloquent and courageous speakers of 9/11 Truth over the past 5 or 6 years, I believe. And so Joe and I was able to help me get a backstage pass, and I was sitting right behind Minister Farrakhan for his Savior's Day speech, and he was focused on one of his biggest points was needing the African American community to start growing food. And he pointed out that if you have land is where productivity comes from. And right now a lot of the problems in America, especially in lower income communities, are stemming from bad nutrition. And if people start growing really good food, which you can do, in urban areas even, you can grow a surprising amount of high quality vegetables. And he was saying not only that, but also that he was proposing a project of purchasing agricultural land, having people kick in and sort of tithe to put money together and buy some farmland where there's really good agricultural land. He was saying that we're heading into some really tough times, and that being able to produce food, especially really good organic, nutritious food, as opposed to all this garbage that they're giving us, this frankenfood with GMOs and PCBs and radiation and God knows what else they're putting in there, that this can be the real factor that enables people to thrive. So I think this would be a great issue for your campaign for mayor. Look at what some of these guys, there's a guy in Milwaukee who's put together some kind of a food growing program where he recycles materials from restaurants and uses it for compost, and then helps people put together sort of backyard gardens in Milwaukee, and they're producing huge amounts of really high quality food in Milwaukee right now. That might be something to think about doing in Kansas City.
Right, absolutely. And one of the biggest things about that is that a lot of that has already tried to take place. There are a lot of people doing things on a very micro level, but only thing it takes is that for people to have real genuine concern, to be inside of the city government and to empower those people and get behind those people in a lot of those efforts, and then you can really start to see things to explode and start to take place. Because one of the things that I see with that whole concept of urban agriculture is that it puts people directly back in connection with the land. And once you have this connection with the land, you start to see yourself as really being connected into a bigger whole, and that's one of the things that has really plagued our community as far as, a lot of the murders, that take place inside of Kansas City. These murders, especially when we talk about the young and that high-risk demographic, a lot of these murders take place because they just basically see no future for themselves other than this immediate street corner or a jail cell. And once you really engage those youth and you give them a better narrative of themselves, and show them how they can be an integral part into this whole, progressive movement, those kids, they start to wake up. I talk to these kids, very, very frequently. And really the only thing that they have been waiting for, or the only thing that they really have been asking for, is for somebody to actually take the time. I hear a lot of politicians, say that, we design programs and we put certain money into these programs, but, sometimes the money the money really doesn't matter. I'm a true believer that if you really invest into the hearts and the minds of the people, the money just really becomes a multiplier. The money just becomes, something that you can multiply the effect. It doesn't become the determining factor. And so, my approach is to engage the real people, the real stakeholders, and not just engage them as in a situation where you're just giving money, but in a situation where you're giving money, you're also giving time, you're also giving care and concern, and then you have to really be committed to implement these new and innovative solutions.
Well, that sounds good to me. Well, you're a Muslim, as I am, and I wonder, how does Islam factor into your ethics of, how to work with the community, how to give back to the community, how the community should work? We have so much anti-Muslim propaganda going on today that, you go around with, letting people know that you're Muslim, and you're guaranteed to have some people sort of popping up, taking pot shots at you because of all this misunderstanding. This idea that political Islam is somehow about violence, when, of course, it isn't. 99% of Islamic activism is about making the world better. Even groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, which do have militant wings, are spending 99% of their money and their effort feeding poor people, taking care of the needy, organizing their communities to make them work better, providing medical care for people who need it, and so on. And those are the radical groups. But the average Muslim groups are just purely philanthropic and organizing for good. So what are some of the ethics and morals that Islam provides that kind of inform the way you look at activism and politics?
Well, it's my personal guide. So when I look at the world and I approach the world, I approach it from an Islamic perspective. And when you approach it from an Islamic perspective, you're approaching it with peace. That's the greeting that we give to our Muslim brothers and our Muslim sisters is peace. So I use that to be my guide, and I use that to do whatever I can when I come across different situations that present that I look at as a problem. I go into opportunity mode, and I see the challenge in that. So and that's my Islamic belief and my Islamic foundation. It allows me to approach the problem in the most rational, with everybody involved, because how we base things off of shura. When I don't approach things, just off of my own ideas. I like to involve all the different opinions of all different people, and then also, we come with truth. It's the basis of all of our communications. We have to communicate with truth. So that allows you to have, a high degree and a high level of transparency. And then, when we look at, the Islamic leaders that we have, that we have had, through our history, these people, established some of the most progressive and some of the most highly technological, instruments and institutions that we use here in Western society. So I think my Islamic belief and faith only adds to my political ideology.
Well, they say that there's a famous saying of the Prophet Muhammad upon him, that the best jihad is a word of truth flung in the face of a tyrant, and that kind of sums up what I saw you doing in your intervention with the current mayor of Kansas City. That there's another Quranic passage as well that says if you see something wrong, you should try to fix it with your hand, and if you can't do that, then you should use your tongue and say something about it. And if you can't do that, then at least you should hate the wrongdoing with your heart, which is the least of faith. And what I really saw was somebody who cares, somebody who's deeply committed to what's right, who's really offended by the hypocrisy and the sort of celebrity party that this mayor was throwing. He kind of couldn't resist speaking out. And I mean, I think it's going to be controversial, of course. And one issue is that white voters like, a lot of them like Obama because he's so non-threatening as a black man. But a black man who's strong is willing to jump up on the stage kind of the way you did. It's probably going to scare some of those people. How can you reach out to those kind of people, or do you even want to?
Well, I mean, it's not my intention. Well, I won't say that. I won't say that it's not my intention not to scare anyone, but because it definitely is my intention to let whoever is against the truth know that I'm not backing down from anything that I stand on that I know to be right. I tell people I've received a lot of compliments and a lot of appreciation for what I did, and I revert right back to my Islamic tradition. Like the Khalifa Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, how he told the people, if I go wrong, what are you going to do? And then a Bedouin stood up and told the Khalifa, Umar, I'm going to straighten you out with this sword. And I follow by the same principle. I don't necessarily think I have to be straightened out with a sword, but if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. I'm not above criticism. I'm not above criticism. I'm not above correction. I tell people all the time, give me advice. Pray for me. If you see me going wrong, I tell them just like Umar said, please correct me. And people appreciate that. I think that's one of the things that's so void in our political system is, the elected officials being held accountable for their actions and the things that they say. I'm all for that. I don't think that anything anything negative can come out of very constructive criticism.
Okay. Well, I mean, brother. Yeah, I wish I were in Kansas City where I could help you out with the campaign. It sounds like it's going to be really exciting, and people are so lucky when they actually have someone to vote for who is not just playing the political game, not out there to enrich themselves or to do it for ego reasons, but out of a true love of justice. That's very, very rare, unfortunately, in politics everywhere in the world, including today's USA. But it does sound like they're going to have that in the next mayoral race in Kansas City, inshallah. So where is your announcement going to be? I understand there's going to be a press conference announcing your candidacy from there.
Yes, well, I've actually already had the press conference announcing my candidacy for mayor, but we'll be conducting a town hall meeting, which will be the first of several series of town hall meetings that will be taking place on 31st Prospect at Lucille Buford Library at 1 o'clock on April the 2nd. And so that will be the foundation of my campaign, to involve the people, to let the people know how the political process works, to let the people know how your money is being spent, and to engage them in as many ways and as many forms as possible. I'm out in my city, in my community all the time, and there's never a time where I can't take out some time to engage the people and actually hear the voices of the people who will actually be my employers. I will be the employee and they'll be my employers. So that's my approach, and I think that's and like you said before, it's so void in our political system right now, which is really a shame.
All right. Well, I appreciate your stepping forward and trying to do something about it. Well, one of the websites you're associated with is AMPAC, the American Muslim Political Action Committee, AMPAC. People can just Google that and they'll find the websites and the Facebook page, AMPAC. And do you have any other websites? Are you going to work on getting one up for the mayoral campaign?
Yeah, we have db4kc.webs.com, and also an organization that I was I'm a part of, and I have much love for, is alphamalnation.org. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Derron Black, or Shahid, AMN, SHAHID, AMN, on Twitter.
Okay, sounds good. And that's DB4KC, is that the numeral 4?
Yes, the numeral 4, DB4KC.
So if people just Google that, they'll find you, DB and then the numeral 4KC. Well, thank you so much, Abdullah. It's been wonderful, and I wish you all the luck, and I hope to have you back. In fact, I intend to have you back, inshallah, on my own radio show this Tuesday. So that's
inshallah.
Inshallah. So keep up the good work, and don't back down, and God willing, will help justice triumph. Assalamu
I mean,
alaikum.
wa alaikum salam.
This is AMPAC Radio. I'm Kevin Barrett, speaking with Shahid Abdullah, a.k.a. Derron Black. Once again, his website is db4kc.com. I'm with the American Muslim Political Action Committee, as he is. That's AMPAC. You can just Google it and find us on the web and on Facebook. Back for the next broadcast whenever it happens. So, hey, until then, have a good one. Assalamu alaikum.